Hey, this is Keith again. Hey, in this video, I'm going to walk you through the 6-step epic content checklist. And this 6-step process, I shamelessly stole from Russ Henneberry, the editorial director at Digital Marketer. Okay. We recently recorded 2 episodes for the Perpetual Traffic podcast with Russ, and it was awesome. And definitely go, if you haven't listened to that show, please go listen to that podcast because it'll help you understand this whole process works. But on that, Russ walked through a 6-step process, and I'm going to take you through that same checklist because it really works. And this will help you really create something that not only will, like I said, get people to consume your content, but gets people to consume your content, but also take the next action with you. That's the key. So, which it brings me to step 1, begin with the end in mind. So, first thing to do before you start putting anything down on paper or recording anything or writing an outline is, what's the call to action? What do you want people to do after consuming your piece of content? That's the key. So, you don't want to just like write something that you think is good or create something you think is good just because it's good. It's got to segue into your next step, right? So how and we'll talk about that a little bit more, how to do that, some strategies, but that's really important. So number 2, how can you raise problem awareness? All right, how can you get people to knock them upside the head? That's really what Facebook is good for, because remember, Facebook is they're not out there searching for a solution. They might not be laying awake at night thinking about your business or the problem that your business solves, right? So you have to raise that problem awareness, and this is a great way to do that. So how can you be useful but incomplete? Kind of like the Betty Rocker example that I showed, right, in the last video, or the 2 videos ago. No, in the last video was. No, it was 2 videos ago, and the Betty Rocker example of her recipe post where she gave you 3 days. Okay, it was great content, but it was only 3 days. To get the whole entire 30 days, you got to buy the product. How can you wow them? Okay, how can you just boom, build up your authority, build goodwill? And some ways to do that too are adding a custom image, infographic, downloadable resource, flow chart, calculator, etc. Any of these types of things you can add into the post will impress people, and will get them to share, and will get them to take more action with you down the road. All right. So step 2, consider a splinter. So what's a splinter? Basically, it's breaking off a piece of your product or maybe your lead magnet and creating a post about that part of your system. Kind of like the 3-day recipe, right? It's a splinter of her product. Lots of different ways you can do this. For example, the Digital Marketer post is a splinter. So this is the 101 best email subject lines of 2014 and our 10 worst. So this is a splinter out of their product, The Machine. And if you go, this is tons and tons of great content. It's got all the list out there, but they want you to click here and they want you to opt in. That gets you into the funnel for their Machine product, which eventually is a $2,000 product. All right. So whatever you do, be sure to stay very relevant to your eventual offer, obviously. Okay. So number 3, pick a post type. This is where I'm going to walk you through some of the most popular, the most effective post types. Number 1 is listicle. That's basically the example that I used with Digital Marketer. They really work well. Big lists, 82 blog posts, 38 tips, 101 headlines. Those types of things people love. They'll bookmark it on their site, okay, or in their browser. How-to articles always work well, especially if you're trying to get them to take the next step with you, right? Use a splinter, make it a how-to, and then for the rest of it, boom. Okay. The content aggregator. This is where you take something that's already proven, something that's already getting a ton of, like that's already maybe almost viral. Okay, so this is where you can use a tool called BuzzSumo. Okay, it's BuzzSumo. Just go search for it. And you can put in a search term. Like, for example, Russ used a great example of they wanted to do 30 recipes, 30 best guacamole recipes for one of their DIY sites. And so they just put guacamole recipes into BuzzSumo, and that pulled out all the hottest articles. And then they just created like a listicle using other people's content. Okay, it's already proven. Super powerful and easy. All right, a crowdsourced post. This is a post that I was a part of recently with Digital Marketer, where they did an article on the 10 what 5 or 6 experts, Facebook ads experts, would do on $10 a day Facebook ad budget. So I talked about what I would do on $10 a day, and basically it's what I'm walking you through with this 7-step process, by the way. And it's the same. My way was the same way Molly's was. It was pretty funny, but it was basically running content amplification, tiny bit on light campaigns, and on lead generation campaigns, which of course we're going to be walking you through throughout this training. All right. So crowdsourced posts can be good. Sometimes might not be the best for flowing into your funnel, unless it's the right topic. So embed reactor. This is where you might take a video or something like that that's already super popular. Maybe there's a video that's almost like going viral, and you can take that and you can embed that YouTube video on your blog, and then you can write a post. You can give your opinion about it. It's kind of like piggybacking on a trend, right? So you're finding a trend, and then you're piggybacking on it, and you're writing an article, your opinion on it, or something like that, and then that can be your post. So those are some great types of posts that you can use. Like I said, I think listicle, how-to are going to be the best, but content aggregator can really help you if you don't know where to start. Okay, so let's get into step 4. Step 4 is where you want to create the hook. All right, you need to have a working headline before you start your content creation, whether it's your video, article, whatever it is. All right, so here's some examples. How savvy, sexy, or smart people do XYZ, right? So you're kind of using social proof here. For example, how Harvard law students cram for exams. So Harvard law is like the social proof, the credibility. So like if you're targeting, if you have like an exam prep course or something like that, you have an article about how Harvard law students cram, right? Well, if you're targeting just an average student, of course, they are going to assume if a Harvard law student is doing something, that's probably, the right thing to do, right? So it'd be something you can leverage. Another example is how to desired result like a world-class example. So it's another piggyback off of kind of an authority social proof example. So for example, the Ansel Adams method, how to photograph breathtaking photographs. So you're piggybacking off Ansel Adams, and people now can see themselves, okay, well, if Ansel Adams does it, then I can do it. So, and then the one of the most successful, most just works in so many different industries is how to desired result without an undesired action. So how a solopreneur doubled their business in 6 months using just Facebook ads with no prior experience. So there's some great hooks you can kind of start with depending on your situation. Step 5, you're going to edit this post for consumability. All right. Think about a greased chute. All right. You want to have a greased chute opening. What does that mean? What that means is that the first line, okay, they read it and they just boom, they continue on. Same thing. They hear that first opening line in your video, and they are compelled to keep on going. Allow me to introduce you to the most misused and misunderstood word in all of sales and marketing. Okay, they're going to be compelled to keep reading and find out what that word is, right? You finally found it. ... Okay. Ellipsis is, the more you can use ellipses, the better, right? So you finally found what? Okay, 348,548, and they're just what is that? So what you're doing here is you're using some curiosity a lot. So that can really, really help. The curiosity is kind of what you're doing. So it's a big lie, ... What's a big lie? Is there something that I thought I knew that I actually don't? Okay, those types of things. Raise your hands if you've ever heard the following. Okay, so these are different ways you can get people to continue on. All right, so open loops. The more you can have open loops, you can do this all throughout your content, throughout your videos, throughout your articles. You can do this in any sales videos. Obviously, this is just psychology that you need to be doing. We do this in our podcast, okay, episode to episode. So here's some ways you can do this, though, with your title and with your post. So here's the title: How to Sell High-Priced Consulting with Paid Traffic. Opening sentence of this article. Today, I'll share with you the paid traffic campaigns we use to sell high-priced coaching and consulting programs. But first, understand that selling high-priced programs is different. Okay, so this can be an article, it could be a video. So what I'm doing here is I'm opening with, I'm going to show you the exact campaigns that we use, right? But then first, let me explain to you that high price selling is different. And we're going to go on about why it's different before we actually give, deliver on that carrot that we dangled, right? So how can you create open loops and close them later on, right? Open loops, we know they do a lot. They cause tension, okay? Humans, when there's open loops, this is why the best radio shows, TV shows, series, this is why right before they go to commercial or at the end of an episode, what do? They show you the upcoming scenes. So you just, you can't wait to get back from commercial. You can't wait until the next week when the next episode comes, right? So people, it builds up tension. They have to close loops. It's just a human nature. So another thing is you want to format and break up your text as much as possible. And you can do that using bullets, numbered lists, block quotes, bolding, italics, underlining, and lots of line breaks. Okay, short sentences, lots of line breaks. Okay, step 6. Insert 2 different types of calls to action throughout your post. So one is in-post banners, or Johnson boxes is another name for those, which I showed a little bit ago, and in-context links. Okay, and so what I mean by those, let's go look just in case. So this is a banner. This is like a banner here, and the one on Facebook, my website about the 2-step Facebook. We call it social advertising template because Facebook doesn't like the word Facebook, so we have to use that to get our ads approved. But basically, we've got this is going to be a Johnson box down here. Right here, this is a Johnson box. So you have a different kind of, you can do that with a piece of code. You can use a plugin. You can use like Optimize Press 2 plugin if you want, even if you don't use that for your theme. And you can do lots of things like this really easy. But then you're also going to have links that will interlink. You might have a clickable link here that goes to another blog post or a sales page or maybe an opt-in page. Okay, so use banners, use Johnson boxes, and use clickable links to get people to take the next action with you. All right, so let's review. Step 1 is to begin with the end in mind. Figure out what your call to action is going to be before you start to write, okay, or start to outline. Step 2, consider a splinter. So take maybe a piece off your lead magnet or off your product, okay. Step 3, pick a post type. Maybe it's a listicle, maybe it's a how-to. Step 4, create the hook. Figure out what that headline is. Figure out what that kind of first sentence is going to be to make it a greased chute so they just continue to consume, all right? And then edit for consumability. Make sure you've got great bullets, separations, all those types of things we talked about. All right, step 6, insert 2 types of calls to action. Johnson boxes or banners, and then of course links clickable links. All right, that is the 6-step process. And while you're starting to plan that, the next training is going to be about how to set up your custom audiences and conversion pixels. And then the next session is going to be your target audience research. Okay, and the target audience research you can be doing simultaneously while you're either planning or creating this first piece of content. Okay, so it's kind of it might be the third step in the process, but you can really be doing it simultaneously. So I hope that was helpful, and I'll talk to you in the next video.